Yoshiaki Sasaki was a boy without many friends. This was not because people didn't like him though. It was more of an issue of not being able to connect. Most people didn't see the world the same way he did. They'd tell him life is not full of sunshine and rainbows, which yes, was perhaps true. But to him, a person could always find warmth, even in the darkness. To Yoshiaki, life and the world itself was full of wonder and beauty. Every little corner of it looked like an amazing work of art. A ray of sunlight getting reflected on a body of water, a worm in the wet soil slowly making its way upwards, or just people walking past him on their daily trot to work. To him, anything could fuel his inspiration. It made him want to sketch it down onto paper and recreate the beautiful scenes he saw. His two dads, Asa and Danshi, always loved seeing him try to draw, even though Yoshiaki wasn't all that great at it. His attempts at sketching humans looked wonky, his backgrounds were barely recognizable sometimes, and the animals he drew looked like weird monster scribbles. But that was okay. They were proud of their son for even trying, and encouraged him to express himself in whatever ways he saw fit. Yoshiaki was also not bothered by the results of his less than average drawings. He knew he could always work on getting better at it. Knew that if he tried often enough and practiced, he could get this kind of art to the level of self-crafted wax sculptures and candles that he would also make. Creating things out of wax was something he had done ever since he was a child. After he had discovered his quirk, a lot of his free time was spent on creating things with the hot paraffin wax he could now produce straight from his hands. His dads had helped him make his own crayons, which Yoshiaki then started to use for scribbling on the house walls, something both Asa and Danshi understandably did not approve of. They kept the crayons out of their son's reach so as to prevent further graffiti, and eventually taught him to draw on exclusively paper. Yoshiaki learned to make other things with his wax in the meantime, such as little figures of people he knew. He used to love showing off his work at school, but over time he began doing it less and less. Unfortunate as it was, he quickly learned that not many people were interested in the creative arts, especially not in elementary school. Most of his peers didn't even know what Yoshiaki did in his free time. Socializing had never been his strong suit, though it wasn't for lack of trying. The trouble was, as he grew up, his interest became more and more removed from the topics his classmates discussed. As a result, he didn't really talk about them much, and kept to himself most of the time. Even if there were people in his class who shared what he loved, things like artistry, musicals and romantic stories were more his female classmates' interests. Talking to them about any of it would be embarrassing, and he did not want to make himself a target for bullying by anyone in class. At least there was one topic he could participate in whenever it was talked about: heroes. Everyone loved heroes, and everyone wanted to become one, Yoshiaki included. Maybe that way he could show more people the beauty he saw in the world. He could be someone else's light, the way his dads had been for him when they adopted him. Yes, that was his dream. And now that he had actually been accepted by the most prestigious hero school in the country, UA High, he knew he could make it a reality. Yoshiaki sat at his brand new desk on his very first morning at UA, absent-mindedly doodling on a page of his notebook with an inconspicuous pencil. He was drawing a waterfall, like one he had seen before on vacation when he was younger, though he wasn't trying too hard to make it look perfect. The noise around him was incredible. Yoshiaki had not really known what to expect upon starting at his school, but he had genuinely assumed that hero schools as elite as this would be slightly calmer than your average middle school classroom. Apparently, that assumption couldn't be further from the truth. He glanced up from his drawing a few times, only to be greeted by groups of students arguing or challenging one another, throwing the entire classroom into a picture of chaos.
At least they're having fun,
he thought to himself on one such occasion.
They don't seem to actually be mad at each other.
The scene was so distracting that Yoshiaki did not immediately notice that there was a girl sitting directly next to him, sketching on a small piece of paper just like he was. She had her head down and appeared to be ignoring the chaos around her, preferring instead to focus on her own work. He could not see what she was drawing from the angle where he sat, but from what he could glimpse, the drawing looked beautiful, more beautiful than anything he could have made. Was she an artist? Yoshiaki hesitated. He wanted to approach this girl about her art. It was so rare he met another artist like himself. The girls who were interested in artistry back in his middle school were only interested in looking at them, not creating them. It was one of the many reasons he did not approach them about his hobbies, for even though they did have an interest in the topic, they weren't exactly on the same page on the creative aspect. But this girl was different, and she wasn't hanging out in a large group of other students like the other girls he was used to seeing. He doubted that talking to her would make him a target for bullying, unlike in his past situations. Still, he contemplated the idea for a few more moments. She seemed intent on not meeting anyone's eyes. What if she was shy? Would he scare her? He did not want to embarrass himself that way on the first day of school. What if she simply wanted to be left alone? He certainly did not want to breach her privacy, especially if she would rather keep to herself. Bringing attention to the fact that he had peeked at her work might be interpreted as being creepy. But his curiosity got the better of him this time. What harm could talking to her do at the end of the day? If she told him to back off, he knew that he would smile and respect her space in a heartbeat. He could at the very least say hello though. They were classmates from this day forward after all, so they might as well be on friendly terms if at all possible. Yoshiaki scooted his chair closer to the girl and put on his most genuine smile.
Hey, I really like your drawing.
The girl looked up, seemingly surprised. She fixed her mistrustful pink eyes on him, but upon seeing his warm smile, relaxed her posture just a little.
Just sketching.
She said, returning her attention back to the paper.
It's nothing special.
Do you mind if I take a look? I've always liked art, ever since I was a kid.
The girl shrugged and leaned away from the piece of paper so that her shadow no longer obscured its view. It was a picture of a park on a rainy day. There was little doodles of trees sparkling with fresh water droplets and rain clouds hovering above the entire scene. The sketch was not coloured, but it was well drawn.
Wow, I could never draw trees like these.
Yoshiaki commented, admiring the picture with undisguised wonder.
It took years of practice. They used to just look like a large collection of twigs.
She lifted her pencil to continue the sketch, only for Yoshiaki to notice that it was broken on one end.
Your pencil, it broke at the top.
I know.
The girl responded, frowning slightly.
What about it?
Well, you need a new one.
I don't have a new one. This works just fine.
Oh.
Yoshiaki reached over to his own pencil case and took out one of the many spare pencils he had with him. He also took out a few extra crayons that he often carried around. Yoshiaki didn't need them at the moment, plus he could always make new ones if he required their use some other time.
Here, you can have some of mine,
he offered, putting the stationery on the girl's desk. She stared at him suspiciously, then picked up one of the spare pencils with her free hand. The girl examined it closely, as though expecting to find some sort of trap on the stationery. When she found none, she moved to studying the crayons, all the while looking wary, as though she expected the wax to bite her fingers. The crayons were artfully sculpted, thin enough to comfortably hold in one hand, but thick enough that the colours would come out deep and vibrant. There was blue, green, red, purple and yellow ones splayed before her, and all of them looked brand new.
Why are you being so nice to me?
She asked uncertainly once she was sure that the stationery was legit and not part of some trick. Yoshiaki shrugged.
You just looked like you needed it. It's the first day of school after all. Wouldn't it be great to start off with fresh writing materials? I added some crayons as well in case you want to add some color to your sketches. Sorry, I don't have all the colors available right now, but I'll make some more soon.
You made these, and you're just giving them to me?
Yeah. Is something wrong?
It's just weird. You don't even know me. Why would you give me something so personal, so useful?
I guess I can see where you're coming from. Now that I think about it, I haven't even introduced myself yet, huh? I'm Yoshiaki Sasaki. You can just call me Yoshi though. I know it's a mouthful to say and I really don't mind you keeping the crayons. It doesn't take much effort for me to make more since creating wax is part of my quirk.
I'm Sakumo Ogawa. It's still unnatural for someone to be so nice to a stranger.
Have you had many bad experiences with strangers? Sorry, I know it's a personal question.
It's nothing. Don't worry about it. You're just strange.
She picked up the fresh pencil she had been given and sharpened it with a rusty pencil sharpener. Then she resumed sketching, a faint smile tugging at what was visible of her cheeks. Yoshi had noticed before he approached her that she was wearing a mask. He had vaguely wondered why that was the case, but he had in the end decided against asking her. It wasn't his place to question people's fashion choices after all. Besides, her drawings distracted him more than anything else. He had picked up his own unfinished sketch and held it up to her, something he had not done in many, many years.
I draw too, by the way.
He said after a few moments of silence.
They are not anywhere near as good as yours, but I've been sketching here and there ever since I was little.
Sakumo glanced up from her work again and studied the drawing.
It's actually pretty good. I like how you did the outline. It's a really nice waterfall.
You can tell what it is?
Of course. You haven't finished it yet, but it's pretty clear to me.
My drawings used to be very unrecognizable. I have no idea how much I've improved since then. Then again, I haven't shown them to anyone apart from my dad's for about 10 years.
Yoshi wondered if he really had improved since then. He hadn't had many outside opinions to compare to, so he couldn't know for certain.
I think you can show this off to other people if you want. It's good. I like how you did the water. It doesn't just look like simple lines. They seem to flow a bit. Sure, it's far from perfect, but it's definitely not bad.
Thank you. No one's ever really complimented my sketches before. I love how you did the drops of water on yours too, and those clouds are really accurate.
I guess I can replicate clouds better than your average person. I see them a bit too often.
What do you mean?
My quirk. I can create sentient clouds that can do my bidding. They all have these annoying smiley faces on them though. I don't know why.
Smiling faces?
He asked, trying to stifle his laughter so as not to seem rude. Sakumo, however, could not help but join in a little.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. They even talk as well. It's like, how and why do you do that?
I see you haven't put any smiley faces on the rain clouds in your picture.
Yeah, well, I didn't exactly create those rain clouds in that scene. Plus, I wouldn't want to see more of those faces in my drawings as well. I see them enough in real life.
Maybe you could draw a frowning face instead next time, for the sake of variety.
Yoshi joked. Sakumo just couldn't help herself. She let out another laugh.
That would be so weird.
The bell rang, signaling classes to begin for the day. Yoshi glanced around to see that most of his classmates had settled down at their desks, and that most of the seats had now been filled.
Looks like we'll have to talk later. It's been really nice to meet you though. Maybe we could spend more time together sometime? If you want to, that is.
Sakumo nodded in agreement, then looked him over slowly the same way she did the stationery.
It was nice meeting you too. And yeah, I guess we could, if I have some free time.
Let me know whenever you're free then.
Yoshi said, and with a final smile he shifted his seat back to his own desk. He returned to the waterfall he had been sketching, a little happier with how it was coming along this time than he had been originally. As class began, a small smile tugged at his lips. Something told Yoshi that his time here at UA was going to be very different from all his other school experiences. He could already tell that it was going to be filled with so much light. There was hope in the air, he could just sense it. He looked forward to seeing what would happen next.